Alright, so I think you guys are technically back at town right now, but you basically have permission to uh, build and develop this little bit of land that you liberated, and you have a whole bunch of money in your pockets, and you are 2 levels higher than you were when you set out. So, where do you guys think you're going to go from here?
The store.
Of course. Yeah, I'm actually getting a lot better at doing these topographical maps, but I really need a program that will draw the contours because when I get to bigger scale maps, the kind of topographical maps where it looks like a brain, basically, that's I already am losing the will to live just thinking about doing that. But I'm sure I'll think of something. I think I'm doing pretty good so far, at least. Alright, yeah, so I'm basically just flipping through map stuff and looking for things to add on as I'm thinking about it. Are you guys perusing the rulebook or store right now?
Yep.
Alright.
I was going to ask, are the combat field uniforms, are they just plain, or are they from like a military or anything like that?
Let me see. Oh yeah, it should. I'll edit it now, but yeah, these are Vestralian combat uniforms. So I'll go ahead and put that in quotes.
Because I was thinking of keeping one because it's got better AC, but I don't know if I want to be running around in a military's uniform while I'm not in that military.
Yeah, it would be pretty simple to, basically, like for one, the uniform is pretty tattered anyway, so you could basically wash it, take the emblems off, maybe even dye it just to make sure it's not the same shade of camo to be extra safe, and then it would be, it would still have the armor rating and everything, but you won't have the problem of, being accused of impersonating military, so there's that.
Alright, yeah, I'll probably keep one of those because I was looking at armor and I'm like, that looks pretty good. Then I'm like, wait, we just got a whole bunch of. The armored undersuit is just sort of like a skin tight outfit, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's basically translucent and almost transparent. So it's like a clear material. It's very difficult to see unless you're very thoroughly searched as well.
I mean, I know they wouldn't stack, but just I could keep my armored undersuit on, and then just have the combat field uniform on over it. So if I ever took the field uniform off because I needed to not be in armor or look like I'm not in armor, then I would have my undersuit on still, right?
Yeah, if I remember right, that's what my drug character did in our last Stars Without Number thing. I had like slightly better armor, but I still wore the undersuit in case I had to take it off.
Can I buy a Hydra array for the base? Just some general home defense stuff.
Let me see, what page is that on?
69. Each volley from it costs 150 credits.
Oh my god, yeah, that's pretty nice.
Its range is 4,000.
Yeah, I put the price increase. Actually, let me make sure because there should be shipping time on there as well. So you can look that up with the Hydra array. It's tech level 4. So if you were to import that out here, it would probably end up being double price. But you could do it.
would have to hire someone just to sit in the base, and then when we're out doing something, just call in and be like, all right, here's the coordinates, let it.
I was watching a Pathfinder game and somebody was making fun of the geography skill. They're like, who uses geography? And the DM said people who are really good at siege weapons.
Artillery.
Yeah, it's like D&D strategic artillery, where you have a catapult that, hits Moscow from New York.
Maybe farther down the line. Jokes aside, I might only just end up buying demo charges.
Yeah, demo charges are good. You could also look into grenades. Those will be useful if you end up in this cover stalemate situation again.
Yeah, I was kicking myself last week for not ordering grenades.
You know what? I have some gun nuts in another Discord that I'm in, and they were telling me that in Canada, despite the fact that Canada generally has way stricter gun laws than the US, it's technically legal to buy a underbarrel grenade launcher in Canada, and the reason is because they categorize anything that is attached, anything that's a removable attachment to the rifle, basically under the same thing. So a flashlight is counted. A flashlight or an optic sight is counted the same way a grenade launcher is for some reason.
Yeah, but can you buy the grenades?
Yeah, that's the question, because he says, yeah, so you can buy you can just go down to a store and buy a grenade launcher. That would be completely legal. The only issue then is you need the what would it be? I only know this because I played Arma, but you need the so millimeter grenades, 20 millimeter maybe. And who the fuck is selling grenades in Canada is the only problem there.
Also, like in some places, and I think it's still in effect here, you can't have a bayonet on your gun unless it's specifically built as a part of the weapon. Like you can't just put on an attachable bayonet; it's got to be part of the weapon.
Yeah, I've heard. The legal definition for assault weapons. They basically give you a list of qualifiers, and if you meet 3 of them, then it's an assault weapon. And one of the qualifiers has a bayonet attachment. Yeah, stuff like that gets pretty silly sometimes.
Yeah, because that's freaking stupid. Because, I mean, a fucking SKS is not an assault weapon, but it has a bayonet attachment. And with a fucking 75-round drum magazine, but God forbid you turn your gun into a spear.
Yeah, I think you get some. It comes and goes. It's not there. It just stopped now, but you do get some interference on your end, Nash. I don't know what it is though.
But now,
sounds good now.
yeah, apparently I'm going to have to buy another headset. It's got to where I've got to put the mic in the exact right spot for it to work right.
Yeah.
I think what I might do is just order a customized combat field uniform. Redoing one of the ones we've already got.
Yeah, you mean basically just repainting it and fixing it up and all that, or were you talking about modifying it in some major way?
Yeah, instead of customizing one of the ones we got, like repainting and stuff, I think I might just order one from, Off-World, I guess, or wherever.
Yeah.
Like where it's custom fitted and maybe have some extra goodies. On it to where I can rated customizable ghillie suit on it, maybe. Do they have anything in this game that works like the Camellia line stuff in 40K?
Yeah, let me give it a look-see, because I remember I had trouble finding it in the core book, but I can try looking through my library, because they're bound to have something like that.
Due to the tech levels, it's actually going to be cheaper for me to buy a helicopter than a grav car.
Yeah, that tends to be the case around here. It's like most of the things, like in the town that you're in, use biofuel, just because there's not the infrastructure to support some of the high-tech stuff. But, yeah.
Although, for just a little bit more, an Atmo Flyer would be pretty nice as well. How much would it is fuel?
Biofuel? I think I know where that is. Give me just a second.
I'd say going for an Atmo Flyer over a helicopter would be better. It's faster, tougher, has more hit points, same amount of crew, same tonnage, same tech level.
The only difference basically is you need a flat level area to land and take off with the Atmo Flyer, because it's more like a plane.
In that case, we might want to go with the helicopter then, since it'd be more versatile.
Yeah, I don't think they mention biofuel several times in the core book, but they don't actually mention the cost of it. So before I make something up, I'm just going to take a peek at some of these other books they have and see if any of these might have it. Because, I mean, even if you don't use it in a car, it'll always be handy to know how much a little bit of gasoline costs, I think.
I was going to say, if I'm going to be spending the vast majority of my money on getting a vehicle, I should probably find out if I can even afford to keep it fueled up.
Yeah, so let's see. What they have for starships is you basically have like a 5% was it maintenance cost per year, and it costs 200 credits for you to be able to warp one square. That gives us, I mean, that's way more expensive than a simple like ground vehicle would be. So I'm going to try and cobble something together for that. I'm thinking, I would imagine that a can of gasoline that could get you, like 1 day's travel might be like 20 credits at the most. But I'm going to look and see if I can find something reasonable there, because it may be a lot cheaper than that. Maybe like 5 credits or something. But yeah, like if you guys were wanting to douse an area with gasoline, or make Molotov cocktails because you ran out of other stuff to burn things down with, then that's one area where having biofuel or diesel, a diesel run base might actually come in handy. Yeah, I can't find too much on fuel. One of the things that I think might work is, each vehicle has a tonnage associated with it, and one way we could do this is to basically say the tonnage, until we think of a better system. The tonnage is also the number of credits needed to run it with biofuel for 1 day, or something like that. So like a helicopter would take 50 credits, but obviously you can fly a lot farther in 1 day with that, whereas a motorcycle could run with 1 credit of fuel per day. Does that sound like a starting point to you?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Alright, cool. I'll put that into house rules so I don't forget.
Can you basically get any weapon you want mounted onto your vehicle? Because I didn't really see anywhere that had like vehicle only weapons. Like some of the heavy weapons specify that they have to be mounted, but for the most part, there's no like, these are weapon only mounts that you can have.
Yeah, I think that because I was looking into vehicle mods and stuff earlier, and I think it, as far as I can tell, it's kind of like whatever makes sense sort of thing. So yeah, you can typically mount any weapon on any vehicle as long as it makes some degree of sense. Like you can't mount a naval gun on a motorcycle or something like that, but other than that, you're good. I would say as well, if you're thinking about mounting stuff, to think about, I guess it depends on what kind of weapon you want to put on, but for example, with a motorcycle, you could have a machine gun that you have on a fixed position, and that would mean that you could basically drive it and then hit a button and potentially fire the machine gun. But the downside is, you basically would have to be chasing the person around and facing them and all that. And on the other hand, you could mount the machine gun so that you can drive the motorcycle somewhere and then stop it, and then you basically have like a gun nest, already set up and good to go. So, there's different types of mounts that you can do. And I don't think, as far as I know, there's no like mechanical thing here, but it's just kind of depends on how much thought, I guess, you want to put into the mounting process.
Yeah, in the little bit it has on vehicle weaponry, it says every weapon requires its own gunner, but GM might allow the pilot, or because you have to use shoot to fire, but it says the GM might allow pilot to be used for a nose-mounted weapon if the operator is aiming.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was trying to think of like what kind of weapon could I add to the Atmo Flyer that would be useful that I could fire. So that's one thing I was thinking is maybe if we're going to use it for combat as well, then maybe the helicopter would be better because the helicopter would have better maneuverability, would be able to hover. Whereas with the Atmo Flyer, you basically just have to keep moving. And would have to do like a strafing run.
Yeah, the helicopter, you could basically have it clear off a landing area, land some people down, and then it could circle above and give you cover as well. Whereas an Atmo Flyer would have to make passes, so you'd have intermittent, damage with that. Okay, I think I'm going to go back to looking into the invisibility stuff real quick, because I was also curious about that.
I've found some stuff. Ghost Mantle, which is artifact level stuff, so that's way out of my ability to get. But there's in the mod section, there's polymorphic blending. Shift into appearance to that of normal clothing or different looking armor. Several dozen different appearances can be loaded into it at any one time. The armor functions and encumbers normally, regardless of its external appearance, costs 5,000 credits and 1 unit of pretext salvage.
Yeah, I mean that's all neat stuff. This is actually one of the things, like
this was under the sample mod, so it was just like a sample of what kind of modifications are possible. So,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because like I said, I mentioned, like I think on the first session, this core book basically gives you a solid foundation. You're kind of supposed to build on it, and what I would like to do is take a lot of the things they have in this book and make like a low-tech version. So you have like a full-on invisibility suit, like from Ghost in the Shell, but then you also have like just a ghillie suit with a bunch of like artificial leaves and stuff that aren't going to wilt away. And so yeah, I mean that should basically be a toned down version of this thing stat-wise, but let me look into it a little bit more.
You know what might be a good thing to, if we ever come across the ability to get it, a good thing for you might be a hollow skin emitter. It's under cyberware.
yeah, I was looking at those too.
Just make yourself look like a giant rock or tree.
Yeah, I was looking at that, looking at this and the polymorphic blending and, the stuff that the Ghost Mantle does, and thinking, there should be some way to combine the effects to where my armor, shifts the color to match, my surroundings, and maybe have like an sort of maybe automated ghillie suit overlay over it, like some kind of, I put over that's got like different stuff hanging off of it, and say run it off a power cell. And when I get into a position, it reads my surroundings and then mimics it.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So the hollow skin emitter says they can fake clothing and can produce sounds to complement the illusion or modify the user's voice. So if the if it's basing that off of the sound leaving the illusion, could you use that to like dampen the sound and flash of gunfire?
Probably not the sound. Flash, maybe. But then again, we've got things like flash suppressors anyway.
Yeah, the way I kind of see it is you could have like a sort of mirage, like an optical illusion sort of thing that'll make it very difficult for them to spot where you are or fire at you accurately. But it probably won't be able to do much about the sound. And if they have any special optics, they might be able to, might have some advantages there.
The best I can do with what I've got, or what I can afford situation right now, because fuck, when I've got millions of dollars, I can just hire somebody to build me a fucking, Predator suit. They just bend lights around me and makes me invisible.
Yeah, that would be that would be super useful, I think.
But something like that's way out of my price range for the moment, so I'm just basically looking for something I can afford right now that's going to be, useful long term until I can afford, the big high tech shit.
I have fix one, so depending on what you want, I might be able to help a little bit right now. I can give your sniper rifle an extended mag so you can shoot twice before having to reload. For 1,000 credits, I can customize your weapons to get a +1 to. Might do that with mine, honestly. So underneath where it says sample mods, it says weapons and armor mods should not be stacked beyond a +3 bonus to AC hit rolls or damage rolls. And any mod improving a skill check shouldn't be boosted more than +1. So could you just stack mods on a weapon until you get to those +3s?
What page?
As long as 91.
That's 91.
As long as it's not the same one. Because it says a mod can only be installed once on any given piece of equipment. So you can't boost the same weapon twice.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's that makes sense.
I'm going to say it should not, it says can not. It's basically for balancing purposes, really. Discretion.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not, a great example, a podcast I was listening to, this guy kept using cylinder instead of chamber when he was talking about a revolver. So he kept saying a 6-cylinder revolver. So they're just imagining this, this revolver with revolving cylinders, each of which has 6 chambers. I mean, as long as we're not doing something like that, I think it'll be fun.
Because I was thinking, I guess it would be under. Could we use customize to give us it says +1 to AC, but for the same thing, could I customize our armor to give us a bonus to stealth?
Yeah, I think that would basically be like the ghillie suit modification, except you would be, rather than putting something together out in the woods, like a temporary solution, you'd be basically creating artificial leaves and twigs and camo, which matches the jungle environment. And, depending on how you want to make it, the only limitation you'd have, because you'd basically be using today's technology sort of, is it would be great in jungle but not so good in plains or brushland. You'd kind of have to specify the environment, but I don't know, we can if it makes sense, I think we should be able to do it.
That's what I was looking at, trying to make it more like the polymorphic blend. That way I can go to different environments without having to customize a ghillie suit for each individual environment.
So what about this? It would cut into the money we make off selling the loot, but we could keep a couple of those uniforms, and then I can customize some for both of us to fit like jungle terrain, desert terrain, urban environment to an if that's possible. And then depending on like what we know about the mission, we can just choose which one we put on to go to it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Later on, you could even have like specialized squads, like guys in urban camo that have like SMGs and shotguns and stuff like that.
I think we were going to keep all the armor anyway, since we were talking about hiring those other mercenaries to work with us. You know, offering those mercs that we saved a job with us as basically like a start to our company.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Maybe I'll hold off on a vehicle for now, because if I want to make us like modify our weapons and armor, I'm gonna have to invest in a tech level 4 workshop.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'm gonna have to look through their workshop stuff in here. But the way most games I've played do it is it goes the same thing for like vehicle repair and medicine and all that, where you have like a first aid bag, and then you have a medical bay, and then you have like a medical facility, which makes up multiple buildings and stuff. And the same thing for mechanics, where you have like a tool bag and like tire repair kit and all that, and then you have a garage, and then you have like a plant where you can manufacture stuff from scratch.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
So it says if the tech needs to refit a workshop to work on a particular type of unsupported gear, they can pay half the shop's original price to get the needed tools. I guess I need to find the workshop cost then. Do you have fix at all?
I don't believe so. Let me check.
Just wondering, because the more I read about the mods, the more I realized how much just got glossed over or just hand waved away for the sake of convenience. So I was pretty sure in the first time we played it, I just modded everyone's weapons and stuff, and I'm reading now again, and it basically takes 1 week per minimum skill level to install or to make and install. So like customize, which is a fix 1, takes a week to make and put in, whereas flexible is a fix 2, so it takes 2 weeks. But it says if the person doing it does nothing but work, eat, and sleep, you can cut the time in half. And if you have someone assisting you with at least fix 0, you can cut that time in half.
That's why I liked playing in AI, because I didn't have to sleep or eat. I could just keep working.
Yep, it can be pretty useful.
So maybe down the line I'll hire an AI assistant to help with mods, and if we're gonna have that mech, that's gonna take more than just me to keep that thing running. Or in
Mech up and running, we're going to have a whole facility dedicated to it.
Yeah. That's why I was looking to see like what you need for a workshop, because
So I was saying we just keep those combat uniforms, because that shit we don't have to buy later to outfit our guards with or help with.
I mean, at that point, maybe we should just keep all the loot we got.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing it's not. It's more loot than you've gotten before, but now you have a place to keep it all, so you could easily fit all this stuff in one of those rooms that you have. Yeah, see, I think it's so funny to me when I see this. I look for clip art, like this little simple stuff to kind of spruce up the handouts, make them stand out a bit. And I'm preparing a calendar handout, and all of the clip art is like 1000 by 1000, like ridiculously high resolution for a simple little pixel art thing that's just going to take up memory. But yeah, I figure I should have thought of this earlier, but I think we will need a calendar just to get a ballpark idea how much time has passed for the sake of like maintenance and mission objectives and all that.
And if we order stuff, having to wait on it to show up. So it says you need a tech level 4 workshop to build most tech level 4 equipment. And it says more primitive gear, it can be built with less elaborate resources at the GM's discretion. Would I still need a tech level 4 to make and install like weapon and armor mods?
Yeah, I'd say it probably depends on the mod and the thing that you're trying to mod. Like if you have, you buy like a revolver, which they probably have in this sort of town, because you're talking like Wild West technology there. You could probably extend, the magazine, or in this case the cylinder, I guess, using your surrounding technology. If it's talking about primitive as in primitive weapons, like swords and stuff like that, I'd say basically the same thing goes. Anything that makes sense, what you could do with a blacksmith, you could probably do in this town.
So like if I wanted to customize it to maybe for the +1 to hit, to make like I guess that'd be like fitting my rifle with a scope and making a suppressor or something to reduce the muzzle flash. Would I need like a full-on workshop for that, or is that something I could do with like just regular tools? Because right now all I have is a post-tech toolkit.
Yeah, I'll look at the, technically you can build, I think I read a story once of a guy that built a suppressor from, I think it was an oil filter. So, if that's true, that seems plausible, but let me look through the book at what they have in the way of suppressors, and let me see if I can think of like a low-tech version of that.
Because the post-tech toolkit says it can handle electronics, small welding jobs, and basic repair on ordinary tech-level floor goods. Post-tech toolkits are tech level 4.
Yeah, and page 67 on the PDF also gives you a couple of examples of what you can do with post-tech. And I think a silencer is definitely something you could do. I'm basically looking for, or the suppressor rather, I'm looking for what kind of suppressor they have in the book. And I'll see if that's something you could, how easy that would be to whip up in the rule set. Yeah, I don't, maybe I've just missed it, but I can't find any example for it. I think I'll go to, like, the generic difficulties, because I'm thinking, like, an 8, and taking, well, I have to look up the crafting time as well, but in my mind, I imagine, like, a roll of 8 with, I'll have to double-check the skills. It might be, let me see.
Building and installing mods takes 1 week per minimum skill level of the mod.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can roll with that. So yeah, it'll take 1 week, and I guess it would be well, unless it specifies what you roll, I would assume it'd be like something like intelligence and fix or something like that. And I'm imagining like a difficulty 8. Let me look at the generic difficulties and then at the mod installation to make sure I'm on base here. See, I'm gonna have to think about this, the way they do mods, because they are obviously thinking, oh, it seems obvious to me, they're thinking of pre-tech on this. But like, for example, you need constant maintenance to keep these mods working, and if they go 24 hours without maintenance, then they fall apart, and that doesn't seem reasonable for something like a suppressor, you know?
Yeah, like it even says too that after it says if you don't keep maintenance on it for a day, it stops working. Then if you don't perform any maintenance on it for a week straight, the entire item doesn't work anymore until it has maintenance done.
Yeah, I'll have to do some thinking there because the balance here that I'm trying to walk is I don't necessarily want to end up with like the Shadowrun problem where you have a gun with 9 different mods and some of those mods have mods, because that could get pretty annoying. But at the same time, I think it's completely reasonable that you can build a sniper rifle and then just slap a suppressor and a scope on it.
I could see like the examples for like Fix 3 needing maintenance, like the infinite power, infinite magazine, or phasing. Like that stuff I could see needing constant maintenance, but just customizing it a little to have a scope or a little more damage. Like, how would that need constant maintenance?
Yeah, we need a low-tech addendum, I think. But that's something I can work on. Another thing I was wanting to kind of go into, which I don't know how far they go into in this book, I haven't been able to find any like special ammo, but like one of the things I really like is like taking a shotgun and putting like salt-loaded rounds or beanbag rounds and stuff in it, or even like slugs versus buckshot, and so that's another thing that I'm hoping to add in eventually. But yeah.
Oh, I'll hold off on the mods and stuff until you have a better idea of how it should be handled.
Yeah, I think I'll put together something in writing so that it doesn't become confusing. But I think it should be. We should, that low tech stuff should be fun.
Here's the best I could come up with for getting a custom built combat uniform that does what I want, that uses currently existing technology without having to use pre-tech shit. I just have to have it built from someplace off-world, likely, since it'll require TL4 parts. Posted it in the Discord.
All right.
It's about the best I could come up with without going full on, Predator level active camo.
Is the hollow emitter the cybernetic, or is that a different thing?
Yeah, there's cyberware.
So could you just get that implanted on yourself and be able to use it with whatever you're wearing?
Yeah, I think this seems like something, reading the description of the hollow emitter, I think it should be fairly simple or fairly reasonable to basically integrate that into a type of clothing. In fact, it might be cheaper because I assume with these prices they're counting for like the surgery as well. And so the price of integrating this into clothing would probably be the lowest, like the equivalent of like getting secondhand cyberware. You'd still need there'd still be like the installation to account for. Either you'd have to have someone else make the roll, or Traffic could attempt to build it, or you. I don't know what your skills in this area are.
Yeah, I don't have fix or anything like that. I'm just sneaky and shooty.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I've only got fix 1. Would I be able to incorporate that into armor at my level, or would I need to be at least fix 2?
Yeah, let me have another gander in the mods and see what examples they brought up again.
I mean, because customizes fix 1, and it says the weapon or armor has been carefully tailored to a single specific user. When used by that person, they get a +1 to hit with the weapon or a +1 to armor class bonus with armor. But that's just like a sample. I'm assuming you can customize for anything, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, that's fix 1, and then fix 2 is that's like the pre-tech stuff, right? I'm reading through it.
Yeah, like an example of fix 2 is the polymorphic blending, where the armor can shift in appearance.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's very similar to what we're doing here. So I think you might need fix 2 to make the blending in real-time armor. But the thing that Nash wrote up would be like a cheaper and more reliable version, because the pre-tech version would need constant maintenance, and Nash's version wouldn't, I don't think.
Yeah, because it already uses currently existing technology in the form of the hollow emitters.
And that polymorphic blending is to make the armor look like different armor and clothes. And this is most likely going to make it blend into the environment more than just a change it to look like different. I mean, I'd basically just be taking the emitters and just installing them to the armor somehow, or somewhere on it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Wherever, I don't think it mentions exactly where on the body the cyberware goes, but it implies that it's just kind of projecting a hologram all around you. So if you can do that with cyberware, I imagine you can do it with armor pretty easily.
I guess for now, I might just buy the helicopter and worry about mods and getting a workshop set up later.
And as far as, with something like helicopter or even the Atmoflyer, this is another one of those things where if you were on a heavily populated world, there would be things to consider, flight laws and stuff like that. But since you're on a backwater world, you can basically just tell people to fuck off most of the time. You can fly where you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you the Sky Police? Oh, you're not? No, I'm going to keep doing as I and before they call the real Sky
I'm sorry. Do you have air to ground missiles? Oh, you don't? Then fuck off.
So it said you can install 2 weapons on vehicles, and that heavy weapons take up both of those slots, so you can only have 1. Would I be able to incorporate a Hydra array onto the helicopter?
Yeah, I'd see that like an Apache helicopter where they have the big missile pods. That's how I'd see that. And again, this is one of those things where I think we go with like whatever's in reason. So yeah, a Hydra array is pretty big, so it might be hard to fit much else on there. But
Yeah, they're considered heavy weapons, so it would be the only weapon on the helicopter.
yeah.
But I think the Hydra array shoots like targeted missiles.
What do you mean we can only put 2 weapons on a vehicle? I mean, this thing exists today.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, so you imagine like an Apache helicopter. It has the big missile pod, and then it also has, I actually don't know what type of, whether it has a machine gun or an autocannon on it, but you have like a weapon, like an anti-personnel weapon as well. And if you're thinking of like a Black Hawk configuration, you could have a mounted weapon that someone could use from inside the helicopter. Whereas if you put a Hydra array on, you probably wouldn't be able to have like a swivel mounted gun, but you could have a nose mounted machine gun as well. I think that would be reasonable.
I was thinking more like a high D where you've got a nose gun, missiles, rocket pods, and door gunners.
Oh yeah, like if you had, and like you could even have a like a full-on gunship later on, where you have this gigantic plane that just is covered with guns. That's something I would be down with like later on.
So I was thinking, since the Hydra array would count as 2, could I get away with a heavy machine gun mounted underneath the nose of the helicopter, and then have rocket launchers, or have like missile pods as rocket launchers on the wings?
Yeah, I think that makes sense because, like Nash said, this thing exists today. Of course, you can do it in the distant future. Yeah, like, and at some point, I was going like I was going to draw like a basic interior, like if you have a helicopter or a really big gunship, just so in case you get engaged while you're in the air, we'll know like where everyone's sitting and everything. And the way I see it, when you're installing weapon mods and stuff like that, as long as you're not making like meme material, like where you have 18 Hydra turrets and all that, it's just within reason. Whatever makes sense is what you can do, basically.
I was thinking, could get the machine gun, get the rockets, depending on where we're going, could drop CMO off on the, like, fly low, drop them off into like some trees, and then just go to like the other side of where we're going to be fighting, make a distraction with the rockets, and have him start picking off people from behind. Or be a distraction while he sneaks in somewhere.
Yeah, that's definitely something you can do.
But heavy weapons are expensive, so for now I'll just be buying the helicopter.
Yeah, I like those scenes in Cowboy Bebop where they fire the expensive missiles, and I think like 2 of the missiles is almost cost almost as much as how much they're hoping to get paid from the mission, and he's just like, oh god, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play a game similar to this called Star Frontiers, which was basically, D&D in space. And we were playing Space Pirates, and one of the other players was playing, wasn't exactly Star Trek Federation, but basically worked for the government. And so basically every time he would go into an engagement, he would be like, fire all torpedoes. And all the Space Pirate players would wince because he basically just launched a fortune out of his ship because we had to buy our torpedoes. When we launched the torpedo, we made sure it was not going to miss, and we launched exactly what we needed to do the job. And he was just fucking maverick with his. It's like, fire all torpedoes. We're like, God damn. That was 2 million credits you just launched.
Yep.
Before I commit to buying the helicopters with SEMO, thought was good too, right?
Yeah, the helicopter was better than the flyer.
So that'll be 37.5 thousand. I've just been assuming I can buy this, but can I actually order a helicopter here?
Yep. It's tech level 3. It's, what do you call it? It's actually a pretty common type of transportation out here. Most of the basically, you have two kinds of ways to make money on this planet, and one of which are like the homesteaders who live out in the jungle and basically farm or mine natural resources, like raw resources, and sell them. And then you have archaeologists who come here because the planet was settled a long time ago and they dig up pre-tech and all that. And the archaeologists get around the planet on helicopters. So you can buy one pretty easily, I think. It'll still be more expensive because the helicopters aren't built here, they're imported in. But yeah, I think 3750 was about right, the plus 50%.
Yeah. Alright. Guess I'll order myself a helicopter. Will I, with my post-tech tools, I'll be able to just do like general upkeep on it, right?
Yeah, that won't be any problem.
Okay.
And let's see. Yeah, and the helicopter would basically require 50 credits worth of biofuel per day of constant usage. So if you have to fly for 2 days, then that would be like 100 credits.
Alright.
Assuming the shear rifle takes Type A cells, it doesn't specifically say.
If it's weapons and most like gear are Type A, then vehicles are Type B. If I remember right.
Type A are the smaller ones, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to order a shear rifle and a fuck ton of ammo.
All right.
You just reminded me that there was some gear I meant to buy too. Gonna buy low light goggles and an atmo filter.
Yeah, those will come in handy. I didn't stress it too much because at the time, but I'm hoping to when you guys start doing longer treks through the jungle to have more environmental stuff going on, especially when you get into the other. I was gonna have like a seasonal sort of thing, but yeah, I'm still working through how I want to do that most elegantly as I can with the stat system I have.
I was going to buy some of the navigational stuff on here, but it requires like a global satellite system.
I might actually buy a solar recharger as well. Having one or two of those might be nice.
Yeah, I was.
Especially for SEMO. You might want to look into one of those if you're going to be getting that gun.
Yeah, and I was typing earlier when you're talking, Nash, but this planet actually does have a satellite network. Whatever the device that you were mentioning earlier would have trouble functioning if you were on a deserted moon or a distant gas giant or something like that.
Well, maybe we don't actually need that solar recharger. The solar recharger lets you spend a day to recharge when using solar panels, but under power cells it says recharging requires 30 minutes for a Type A or 24 hours for a Type B. So you can I guess just hook them, like plug them in to your house or wherever you're stationed, and they'll recharge.
Well, I can still use one probably, because where I'm a sniper, I can play the long game.
Having it as like a backup in case you need it will never hurt.
In case you need to watch a position for 2 days straight, so you can put on some podcasts.
Or, if we end up in a position like we were last time where I'm just overlooking a base and there's nowhere they can go, so I'm just got to sit here and wait them out.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like the way I did the notice rolls with the last combat, I think only one group noticed you, but if you had stayed hidden, after doing the surprise round, they might have tried to sally out eventually, but they wouldn't have been able to return fire immediately. And, if you had a really good stealth, then you could slowly pick them off one by one a lot easier, even if they kind of know the general area of where you are.
Alright, so I spent $1,500 to buy the Atmo filter, low light goggles, and a solar recharger.
Alright.
I'm gonna assume, even though it took 2 days out there, we were out there for less than a day, then another 2 days back. I'm gonna assume that between all of the hostages we rescued, I used basically all of my 2 weeks worth of rations.
Yeah, with the 2 days travel back, I think that's a pretty safe bet. You haven't completely looted every nook and cranny of the base as well, so you might find some stuff when you go back out there, but you also might want to stock up on rations just in case.
Just to make sure I have enough, I'm just going to buy another 2 weeks worth.
I think what I'm going to buy is binoculars, the TL4 variety, because they got the extra low light goodies and infrared and all that. Grapnel launcher, low light goggles, and an nav comp.
Alright.
On top of the shear rifle, so that's my shopping list.
You made me remember I wanted to buy demo charges.
I had grenades. I need grenades. Where are grenades at anyway?
I'm going to buy 4 demo charges for an even $1,500. We're probably going to get put on the list for ordering tech level 4 weapons.
You can, you just need to rack up those black market loyalty points.
That's why we need that lawyer.
Alright, I think I'm good with this maintenance log, and I think as long as I keep it as simple as possible, I don't think it'll get out of hand. I basically just have 2 variables to keep track of. And I'll go ahead and start the date at January 1st, and on the calendar, just for simplicity's sake.
So, what does the maintenance score count as?
Oh, you mean like how is base maintenance calculated?
I mean, in terms of having the Tinker foci.
Oh yeah, let me read into that. Do you know what page it's on?
I can look. I was looking at it on my character sheet.
Oh yeah, I can look at it on your character sheet as well. Let me see here.
It says your maintenance score is doubled, allowing you to maintain twice as many mods.
Yeah, I think because it has the bonus for mods, and then it has let's see, costs half their usual price in credits. I think even though it's technically for mods, I think it would make sense that anything that you can be assumed to be maintaining, like if you say you're maintaining the helicopter, then you could say that's halved. You could half the final price. So let's see. Yeah, so your 1875 annual maintenance for the helicopter goes down to 937.
And I just realized I never picked up a new foci or leveled up a foci. Do you have a gunslinger, Nash?
Nope.
Is it only one round to reload your sniper rifle?
Reload is a free action as long as I have my ammo readied.
Oh, you're going to be getting that other gun anyway. Never mind. Because the level 2 for gunslinger is pretty good. I know last week I talked about taking Ironhide, but I think I might take Diehard instead. Extra 2 hit points per level. And automatically stabilize if mortally wounded by anything smaller than a heavy weapon. We get another foci at 5, right? Or is it 7?
I think you get another one at 5.
Just trying to decide if I want to take Tinker level 2 or save that for the next level.
Yeah, you get a new focus at 2, 5, 7, and 10.
Maybe I'll take Diehard then and save Tinker level 2 for 5. Alright. So that means I get 6 more health.
Be right back.
I guess also in the downtime between us finishing that mission and getting information on the next, I would fix up one of the uniforms to not look like that military.
It'd be a pretty easy thing to look up real quick. Let me just double check something.
I'd probably just remove the Vostrian symbols. Anything that could tie it to them, and probably just dye it like dark black and gray or something.
Yeah, this is something that I don't think you'd even have to roll for. You can easily spend a day to retrofit some of the uniforms. How many were you looking to do?
If I'm just going to remove the emblems and stuff and change the colors, I'd probably just do it for maybe 2 or 3 for now.
Okay. Alright, so you want to write those on your character sheet, or do you want to keep track of them in the mission loop?
Should we change it from being mission to loot to maybe like base inventory?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Since we're going to basically keep all of it for future use.
So yeah, I'll tick off 3 combat uniforms, and you basically have like the only thing you're doing is separating them from the Vestroyan military, so they're now just normal combat field uniforms.
I'll just make note of it down in the notes section of my character sheet that I've got. Just 3 of them. I'm actually going to take one of them and put them on.
Alright, yeah, so I renamed the mission loot base inventory, and you should be able to edit it now. So yeah, you said you were going to put them on your character sheet, so I should go ahead and take the 3 off of here, I think.
My shopping list. Old calculator.
All right, the the government watch list speed run has begun.
I mean, really, the only thing that might raise some suspicion is the shear rifle. I think that's the only thing tech level 4 that we bought, aside from, I think, the Admiral filter that I got, right? And as well, I guess, the Type A cells. Maybe they'll be a little suspicious at the shear rifle and that many cells being bought for it.
Well, I'm also buying the tech level 4 binoculars, which take power cells.
Yeah, I mean, ideally there would be a whole, hunting down a contact and securing a buyer and all that, but it's just not the kind of thing that I'm too concerned with right now. So yeah, the only and the legality thing doesn't really matter with a world like this kind of world. So yeah, I think it'll be fine for the time being.
Be too worried until we start buying grav tanks.
Yeah, I mean the main thing, like the main problem I'd like to avoid is if I decide to put in do like a proper buying system later on, and then it's like, oh well, we bought a shear rifle early on and now it's super hard to buy those. So I'd want to avoid having that problem. But I would eventually, once I figure out the system a little bit more, I'd like to I think it'd be cool to have a rogue trader-ish vibe to like securing a particular company that you buy from and all that. I think there's some cool things you can do when you go down that road. like playing different power groups off of each other in order to get a good deal on grav tanks and stuff like that. Other than my me getting familiar with the system, the other reason I'm hesitant to do that thing right out the door is neither of you built social characters, and so that would gimp the campaign pretty hard. But I don't think it's too, since you guys are in a backwater world, you guys playing combat characters, I think works.
I mean, I have a zero.
That's another thing I still really want to do, though, is hire a lawyer.
Yep.
I mean, my charisma's only 11, but my talk is 0, so I don't have any negative.
One of my charisma is 7. I am not a social butterfly. Not as antisocial as it gets.
It's usually how all my guys end up. Some stat needs to be sacrificed, and it usually ends up being charisma or fellowship.
Yeah. Well, my shopping list is going to cost me just under 10 grand.
That's not too bad. Especially considering the sheer rifle.
Mine wouldn't have been that bad if I hadn't bought the helicopter. But now we don't need to worry about getting to and from the base.
Have you spent?
I've spent almost 40,000. But most of that, like I said, was on the helicopter. If we're gonna down the line be a military company, what should our name and logo be? The Hathcock and Bradshaw firm.
Oh man.
Because whatever the logo is, we could paint that at the side of the helicopter. Get a little advertising every time we go to and from town.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier, the battle mech that you guys have that's still half buried in the ground, still has like the Australian bear and stuff on it, and so you're probably going to end up like repainting it and refitting it and all that. But it made me think of a picture I saw a long time ago where there's like a Blood Raven Land Raider or something like that, and there's like a chip in the paint, and the guy starts peeling away at it, and you see like the corner of a Space Wolf logo under the Blood Raven logo.
We're professional thieves. We're going to sandblast it first and then repaint it.
Yeah, they'll need an IR scanner to even see the indention, and by the time they get close enough to use that, it'll be too late.
Yep. Lawyer cost us.
What was that? I think it might have cut the first thing you said off.
How much would a lawyer cost us?
I actually think they have something for that. Let me see. Oh my gosh, yeah, they actually have lawyers specifically on page 81. You can hire a lawyer. The wage goes per day, and you have 10 credits, 25 credits, and 400 credits.
What page did you say it was?
Page 81.
Well, we can't quite afford the 400 a day lawyer, but we cannot afford the 25 credit a day lawyer. His yearly salary will be just over 9,100 or 9,125 credits for a year.
Yeah, I'll have to do some thinking there because that's definitely, I've actually played a game called Burning Wheel that has a whole system for, they did legal battles, I think in a pretty funny way. Kind of comparable to the Ace Attorney games. And, there'll probably be a different cost for retaining the lawyer versus using the lawyer in court. So, 9,000 a year might be like your maximum fee, and it might be cheaper to maintain.
And for something like, are you hiring them as a personal lawyer or like a lawyer for our inevitable company?
A lawyer for the company.
So in that case, you could, stuff like that for the company, you might as well split the cost between us. I'll cover half of it.
The 9,000 was the mid-level lawyer. The upper one, when I did 400 a day, that was like $140,000 or 140,000 credits a year. We need to hire us a helicopter pilot too.
What are you talking about?
I'll just make sure you take the keys with you when we go anywhere. advertising.
Oh, what was that?
I was going through the cyberware for, stuff might be eventually useful to SEMO, and down at the bottom where I was looking at the Twitch lock actuators, and the brief description on the list, it says allows brief moments of hyper precise accuracy. But when you go into the actual description, re-roll, and it drops your dexterity modifier by 1. It's false advertisement.
Yeah.
A re-roll and dropping my dexterity modifier by 1 does not sound like hyper precise accuracy to me. The accuracy sounds like, a +5 to hit for 1 round.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is if it says, allows hyper accuracy for brief moments, then that sounds like it should be like a temp boost. Yeah, I don't know, that's weird.
But once you read through the description, all it is just a reroll for any particular skill. And while you're using it, it drops your dexterity by 1. It's like that. That's crap.
We should just get revenant wiring.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest cybernetics I think they have in this game, to be honest.
Harder to revive you, though, so I'd say give those to like a suicide squad. Take a squad of guys and be like, hey, you do this mission and your families will never have to work a day in their life again. Fucking shoot them full of combat stems, put a revenant wiring harness on them, and let them go.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't be the first person to consider doing that. I actually had a bunch of ideas around like combat stems and stuff.
Of like make our own Evasaur assassins, just get like complete total fucking psychopaths. Shoot them up with fucking drugs, drop them over the target, and fucking murderize everything, and then when the enemy thinks they're dead, they get back up and keep fighting. Make for a damn good distraction.
Once we're a little more established, get an Atmo flyer, have it fly by up in the air and have them parachute out the back. Or drop them off in the woods. Once they're in position, bring the helicopter back around. Shoot a couple rockets. While they're distracted by that, they go in. And once they realize they're getting attacked from behind, you can be off to the side, away from both of them, and just start picking people off.